became independent in 1980. Various land reforms took place to answer injustices of land distribution based on race during colonial times. In 2000, large-scale and often violent occupations of big farms of white settlers, but also of other commercial farms by the local population, raised international attention. These were legitimated by the government's fast-track land reform. The leading party, ZANU-PF, used an anti-white discourse to provoke the occupations. However, most victims in the following violence were black Africans, commercial farmers and farm workers. Women in Shona and Ndebele societies were and are farmers and have been using land mostly for subsistence production. During the fast-track land reform, land was distributed to the heads of households, which meant men in most cases. However, the land reform also brought changes. 12 to 20% of the land was given to female-headed households, compared to 4% of white female farmers prior to the reform. The land reform also abolished the water rights system of first come, first serve, and distributed water rights to thousands of people, men and women, who have had not legal access before. Nonetheless, the interconnection of customary and legal law restricts women's access to land and treats women's rights as a private issue. There are few women involved in institutions guiding the resettlement programs. Gender relations in villages are complex, and the ZANU-PF's cling to power tend to not question power relations in Zimbabwe.
In Zimbabwe, all communal land is owned by the state. That means people cannot sell their land but lease it. The government gave the ownership of several pieces of land to the governmental department ARDA to plan, coordinate, implement, promote and assist with agricultural development. One of the areas of interest is Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a village located in the southeast of Zimbabwe in Manicaland province, Chimbinge district. It is near the Save River in the Voyo communal land. The area has a population of 300,000 people who largely rely on farming for survival. In 2012, ARDA signed a deal with two regional companies, Green Fuel and the BOT, for ethanol production. The ethanol production became part of the 5% to 20% fuel blending policy introduced in 2014. Close to 6,000 hectares of land were allocated for this project. This is part of a global initiative where countries such as Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia and Angola develop strategies to utilize local resources for alternative sources of energy. The Zimbabwe project in Zimbabwe is the biggest so far in Southern Africa, with an investment close to $300 million. Bioethanol technology is on the increase in sub-Saharan Africa, with most governments investing resources and crafting policies to support it. Zimbabwe was strategically chosen for this initiative because it's closer to the ethanol factories, the land nearby is suitable for sugarcane production, and has a reliable water source.
We do not have any natural resources in terms of crude oil to manufacture our own fuel products. So this is a homegrown solution to our liquid energy situation.
The Green Fuel plant produces 70,000 liters of fuel per day. Such a production is expected to ensure affordability of fuel for the Zimbabwean market. Green Fuel argues that people can benefit from the introduction of the ethanol project. For example, it would create jobs and introduce a number of community projects, providing social service infrastructure rehabilitation, irrigation farming and community workshops. The vision of Green Fuel is to build a greener future in Africa for more sustainability.
ARDA on its own has got land which it was leasing from the local authorities, which is Chipinge Road District Council. It measures 5112 hectares, which is leasing from Chipinge Road District Council.
Before this multimillionaire project came to effect, communities had access to large pieces of land for agricultural production. However, in order to accommodate this project, people in the community had to be reallocated. only 516 households out of 1,754 households that were displaced were compensated with 0.5 hectare plots, and this is not sufficient for agricultural activities.
Chikafu chedu isusu chainguva chiri locally produced. Tisinganyanya kudhipenda nezvekunowana kure zvatakuita zvekuti kana muchida mafruits motoenda kuchipingi and the like. Taingozviwanira muno muloka tichirima along the river chera mabanana chichi zvese zviri fresh taizviwana iko kurwizi rwo. Saka ndo rwakabva rwasvikovharwa nobva rwasvikospoiliwa futi rwizi rwachona robva raiswa dandauta. Haticharima magarden, hatichawana nutrition yakanaka, health yedu yabva yatanga kutodzikira, zvirwere nobva zvatowanda.
Drastic changes in land ownership was a source of conflict as well as produced social and economic challenges for people in the communities. This mostly affected women, who constitute 86% of the population working on land.
Kurarama kwese kwataita taingorarama zvakanaka, upenyu hwakanaka, tisingatombozive kuti kune dambudziko rekurarama nechekudya, chekupambara kana chekupfeka kana kuita se school fees yevana, zvese zvaingotifambira zvakanaka. Taiti tikarima cotton yedu, tikakohwa cotton yedu, taita aya anonzi ma-annual budgets. Saka pakazouyawo green fuel, zvakabva zvatoita masamba asiyana chaiwo. Nekutotsanangura kwacho unotoshaya kuti wotangira papi. Zvakabva zvasunama zvachose.
People expected to be employed in this project as well as benefited from corporate social responsibility.
Vana venyu vose vachadini vachashanda ipapo, nevarume venyu vese nhamo yese ichapera. Madzimai muchapuwa rubatsiro rwekuita chine maproject akasiyana siyana, asi hapana kana chinhu chata.
Uya kwavakaita vaiti vachakombanzeta chi vanhu minda yavo kwekuvatorera kwavakaita, uye vachakurudzira kuita budiriro muzvikoro nemumakliniki nemaroad nemaprojects kuvanhu, kuvagari vakaafektwa. Saka hatina kunyanya kunetseka nekutambira chirongwa takabva tachitambira. Asi vamwe taingoramba tichingoti tikatambira todzoka mumasure nekufunga kuti background yeupambepfumi yanga yakamira sei kuverenga kwataiita history.
As a result, households needed to restructure their livelihoods.
Most men from this community were forced to go to South Africa to find other livelihood alternatives in South Africa. They had to migrate to South Africa. And so women naturally depend on land for their livelihoods, especially in the context of this community, it's a polygamous community. So the mother is the primary responsibility of feeding kids, making sure that they're clothed, they go to school, and they provide labor to the family enterprise. You now see most of them being forced to find other livelihood alternatives like fetching firewood, fetching water and selling it, because their gendered livelihood, which was farming rather, has been depleted.
The shortage of land increased corruption behavior as communities had to negotiate with the chiefs to have access to land. Unlike men, most women don't have access to resources such as cattle or money. For this reason, in some cases women are forced to exchange sex for land, so-called sextortion.
Asingokuti mutape unongeida wamadress. Wechitoti kana weida ndikupe chimunda. Tombotita zvongwana nomukadzi ndokuti wana chimunda chiyeka izvi. Saka ngokuti sisi kunoko hakuna zvokubata. Ndakangozoti toita tiwane chimunda, tiwane pokubata bata. Saka ndakazotawirira mutapa akutondipa chimunda ch0.5 chiyo. Kugara ngoti ndaida chimunda pa mutape zvazviri zvokungoda chimunda chete. Ndochizoti mutape ina chazvikoni izvi. Mutape woti kana tisingashaiti nemuvillage mangu motobuda. So far ndakatochinja muvillage.
We use the problem sugarcane analysis, also known as problem 3, to analyze the land conflict in Chisumbanje and its effect on gender relations. It helps us to distinguish causes and effects. The main problem is unequal land distribution and unequal access to land. Structural causes are, for example, the limited land ownership by women and that the dual legal system favors mainly men. Another cause is the corruption of the government, green fuel, and local leaders. One effect is extortion, which then might lead to health problems of women. We can also identify reinforcing loops between different effects. For example, the main problem, unequal land distribution, causes protests. Protests cause the involvement of the military forces, which then cause more grievances and protests. This leads to a loop of military interventions and dissatisfaction, which is one indicator of fragility. Effects can also feed back into causes. For instance, the collaboration between the government agency ARDA and Green Fuel and its monopoly cause unequal access to land. Green Fuel tried to address inequalities by initiating social projects. The social projects legitimate the presence of green fuel and lead again to the collaboration of ARDA and Green Fuel. Other effects are conflicts within the community and the migration of men to other areas or countries. This in turn leads to a shift in the distribution of work among men and women.